All right, let's stand for the Pledge of Allegiance, please.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, number 3, consent agenda. We need approval of the meeting agenda and also the Planning Commission meeting minutes from October 15th.
This is Susan. I'll make a motion to approve the consent agenda.
This is Kim. I'll second the motion.
We'll take a vote.
Kim, aye.
Susan, aye.
Mike, aye. Andy, aye.
Robin, aye. All right, next on the list, we have public open forum. Is there anybody here who would like to speak or online would like to speak about anything other than tonight's discussions? Hearing none, we'll move on. We are going to have our public hearing on ordinance number 25.04, fence regulations. Eleanor, you're on.
All right. Notice is hereby given that a public hearing will be held by the City of Columbus Planning Commission on November 5th, 2025 at 6 p.m. or as soon thereafter as parties may be heard. The hearing will be conducted in person and by interactive technology at the Columbus City Hall located at 16319 Kettle River Boulevard, Minnesota, to consider a city code amendment to Chapter 7A regulating fences. A full copy of the proposed ordinance is available for review during regular business hours in the City Administrator's office at the address listed above, or can be viewed on the city website. Members of the public interested in attending in person, monitoring the meetings, or wanting more information should contact the city offices at 651-464-3120 or visit the city website at columbusmn.us. The hearing shall continue until all evidence and testimony has been received.
Well, thank you, Eleanor. It's like you've read something like that before. Okay,
I'm getting really fast at it.
Maybe you'd like to tell us also, since you're the person of record, about what we're doing here.
Yes, so we have discussed this briefly at pretty much every meeting for the last month or so. And at this point, we called a public hearing on the proposed ordinance amendment with all of your guys' suggestions and edits. And that's what we will have our public hearing on tonight, is that first draft regarding the fencing regulations. A couple things to point out since the last time that this was seen before the Planning Commission is we will be moving it to a different section than where it was originally proposed. It will have its own section now instead of being lumped into the middle of the general provisions section. I think that that will be a lot easier for residents to find and be a lot simpler for the design of that. We also are having a zoning permit required for all fences. As a part of tonight's meeting, I also gave out a handout that would be in the front of all of your desks. It's also provided to the public here of a part of what our current fence permit looks like, which would be a very simple zoning, part of the zoning permit, which outlines where the fence would be, what it's made of, how tall it is, the type of information that we were looking for. So that's just an example of what that zoning permit application might look like. We added a section for property verification so that we don't have to require a certificate of survey, but that the property owner is taking responsibility that the fences are in fact going to be on their property and they're taking accountability for that. Other than that, a couple other small changes regarding the drainage requirement of having a gap in between the bottom of the fence and the grade level for solid fences to not restrict drainage issues. And I believe that's essentially the changes since last time.
Well, you appear to have listened to us.
Yes.
Everything seems to be there.
Thank you.
You've done a good job, Eleanor. I read through this thing, trying to find anything wrong. I could not find anything wrong with what you wrote up, Eleanor. I think it's excellent.
Perfect. All right.
I have no comments. I feel the same. You did a great job. I guess the only question I have, I should have probably looked. How much do we charge for like a zoning permit?
So currently in our fee schedule, our zoning permits are $50.
Okay.
For driveways or anything that requires potentially someone to go out and do inspections or engineering work, which these fences typically would not require any sort of engineering work, we require an escrow of $250. And that is so that we can have consultants review it. But in general, zoning permit is $50. And we will be reviewing the fee schedule in January to be changed for the next year, and that can be adjusted.
Okay.
Thank you.
Any other questions, gentlemen?
Nope, nothing for me.
All right.
We want to open the floor for public comment?
What's that? Oh, yes. Is there anybody who would prefer to speak at this time on the fence matters? Hearing nothing, we'll close the public hearing. And now we'll take a vote as to moving it on to 2 weeks from now. Is that correct, Eleanor?
Correct. Since this is a public hearing matter, it does have to actually come back to the Planning Commission at the next meeting, and then it can go to the City Council after that.
Okay, so this is coming back to us.
Yes.
All right, so
It can be a simple motion, yes.
we need a motion to move us along.
Continue it. This is Susan. I'll make a motion to continue the public hearing for the proposed fence ordinances at the next the next planning and zoning meeting on November 19th.
This is Kim. I'll second the motion.
We'll take a vote.
Kim, I.
Susan, I.
Mike, aye. Andy, aye.
Rob and I. Okay, now we're going to talk about something fun. Well, actually, not yet. We're still on shared driveway. That's not so bad. We haven't
Maybe.
got animals yet.
Depends.
So, let's see here. Eleanor, would you like to tell us a little about what we're doing here?
Yes, so our shared driveway and private roadway ordinance is intended to support the development of those landlocked parcels that do not have direct access to a public roadway. The provisions were established due to the significant presence of wetlands throughout the city, which often make it challenging or impractical to construct traditional road accesses to those landlocked parcels. Most residential areas in the city as of now are largely developed with limited remaining areas of highland that is suitable for standard subdivisions. As a result, most of our subdivision requests that we are getting these days are families trying to section off a 5-acre parcel of their large contiguous land, and these shared driveways and private roads are become increasingly common option for those small lot splits and new subdivision applications. I wanted to go over some of those ordinance requirements that we have in place, since there seems to be, it's an easy thing to get confused about the requirements for these shared driveways. And I want to make sure that everyone's on the same page of this little section of our city ordinance, as they are most likely going to keep popping up before you guys, and I want you guys to be aware of it before they start coming up for applications. So if you go to page 12 and 13 of your packets, these are from 2 different parts of our zoning code. Page 12 is from our general provisions in our zoning ordinance, and then page 13 is actually from our subdivision ordinance in chapter 8. They kind of outline the same process, but I just wanted to go through them a little bit. So in the rural residential district, a lot that has no frontage on a public road or street is allowed to obtain a building permit for a single-family house. So whether or not you're subdividing a new lot that has no road access, or if it's an existing lot that has no road access, you are allowed to develop it if you have the room and meet the requirements for this type of shared driveway. And the general requirements for that is there can be no more than 2 lots meeting the frontage requirements of this section that can have access from that driveway. So the shared driveway can only be between 2 lots. The driveway must be 16 feet wide. Traditionally, driveways are 12 or so feet wide, but to allow through traffic or a emergency vehicle and somebody else from a different house coming down, and so there's not collisions, we require them to be 16 feet wide instead of just 12. And then additionally, when we allow this to happen, or we permit a shared driveway, everybody involved in that shared driveway must enter into a development agreement with the city that has the following criteria. That over the driveway, there's a 66-foot roadway easement dedicated to the city, and that, this is essentially intended to, these shared driveways and private streets are intended to have the possibility of the city coming in and building a road there in the future. So it's setting it up for the city to be able to build a formal road there eventually. That's the overall goal, is that eventually it will become a road, but it doesn't need to be one right now. Then there has to be a maintenance agreement between everybody who's using this shared driveway of who is actually taking care of it, maintaining it, plowing it going forward, especially when those properties change hands. If one of those properties are sold, you need to have something in legal writing of who's taking care of the access way to both of these homes. And then there is also a requirement that all of the people using that shared driveway waive the right to object the future roadway and the assessments for the cost of the construction of that public street. So if the city does decide to come in and build a road over the easement that they granted, that the people who are benefiting from that waive the right to tell the city no in the future on that specific matter, and waive the right to deny objecting future special assessments for the purpose of building that road. So, in short, these private streets are a little bit complicated to maintain, manage, institute. There's a lot of steps to doing it. And then there is some follow through with the intent of the city to eventually build a road there. Another one of the handouts that you have before you at your table is an example of what one of those maintenance and development agreements for a shared driveway looks like. And this is a pretty standard one. It has essentially the bare bones of what's required by ordinance and nothing else. So they agree to widen it to 16 feet. They agree on maintenance requirements, and they agree that if the city wanted to come in and put a road there, that they're okay with that, and have, and does anybody have any questions on
Oh, yes, I do.
Please do. I just rambled about it. Please give me it.
How is this, what we're talking about here, different than the couple we had a few meetings back who were trying to put in a shared driveway?
So that would be using this ordinance. That's why I wanted to go over specifically what it is. Anytime that a subdivision comes in asking for a shared driveway, when you look at the plat, it's going to look like a road. They mark it out as a road because they'll be dedicating it to the city as if it was a road, and they have to measure everything as if the future road is going in. But it can be to a less standard now, as long as they fulfill all of these requirements, as long as they sign these agreements. So it's not different, it's the same.
It's the same.
This is the provision that they were proposing using.
Okay. seemed like the other thing should have been easy then. It seems fairly straightforward. I'm still confused about, we can talk about, if you'd like, we'll talk about the other couple later.
Yes.
And you can try and
maybe later.
unconfuse me.
Yeah, I'll talk to you about the specific
Okay, thank you.
reasons there. There's a lot of other.
Yeah, I don't have a good memory, so I would
Yes,
just,
I know what you're talking
I
about.
can't quite remember. I can remember them sitting there, but I don't remember all the myriad details of it.
Okay. Anybody else have some comments or questions or?
Yeah, I have a question. This is Andy. So I see in your example here, they have like a set amount of money that they would be like on a special assessment up to like $11,820. Is that like the most they would be assessed if, like, say the road comes in, you need
Yes, so
surveyors, et cetera? So after that dollar amount, they would be like not liable for that anymore?
I would have to confirm with our legal team about this specific thing. This future improvement has not happened yet, so if it was going there, I would confer with the legal team that wrote this document before making any assumptions. But that is the section where it's saying that this is going to be the cost of improving the road. We agree that we will not object to this special assessment going through to this dollar amount, should that happen in the future. And that was the calculation that was done when this was written.
Okay, so it potentially will be higher based on today's costs.
I, again, can't confirm if that means that they can object to the higher cost, but
Okay.
that's the way that this one was particularly written. But I can get back to you about that.
All right.
This is Susan. I did see that assessment. I guess my question being, from a title standpoint, shared driveways can get really muddy in the future and really gross. You can have John and Bob or buddies, they own the shared properties, they butt each other, they're great. One of them sells, and then in the future, so-and-so doesn't want to maintain it, they don't want to plow it, they don't want to not park on it, they don't want to help resurface it. So I understand that we do a development agreement, a maintenance agreement, but I'm wondering, as opposed to just an assessment too, when, and I guess you could probably speak to ones that previously, when this is a development or when they are doing this initial shared driveway, is there an escrow held that then, at least in the very beginning, when they're developing the two properties or developing the shared driveway, that is actually to make sure it's surfaced to the city standards. It's done all those things, and so you're holding that amount so they actually do it, and then a clause where if they don't, the city then can use that escrow to then go ahead and finish that to city standards.
Yes, so we commonly put sureties and warranty clauses in our development agreements for a myriad of different types of developments. Again, I haven't worked on a ton of these yet, or really looked into how those development agreements have been structured. I know we do hold escrows for just driveway permits in general, and that a warranty clause in future development agreements for shared driveways would be a reasonable thing to request, that is added by our legal team.
Are they currently now recorded then on each property, but also as some sort of deed restriction that will then carry forward? So it's, because I've ran a few across in title insurance and underwriters and not very happy neighbors. So I've seen the opposite end and side of it, of what it can result to. And when you're selling your property, you're buying a property, you don't want to share a driveway, you're going to get attorneys involved and get really expensive. So I'm just kind of thinking from that standpoint more. And it's, I guess, I know we have landlocked parcels. I'm sure you don't know exactly, obviously, but roundabout, is there really a lot that's even actually buildable, actually even worth holding $15,000? Doing a shared driveway for, you've got a parcel that's 80% swamp lowland that you're going to have to pay a fortune to bring in. I guess, is it?
That's something to discuss, yeah.
I'm not sure how much we have of that. I mean, I guess obviously you don't either, like exact, acre.
I don't,
I mean,
I don't have the map of the wetlands of
Right,
Columbus
exactly.
memorized.
But I'm kind of wondering, I
I'm
would
getting
think
there.
Yeah, I would think at this point, as far as what's left, I can't imagine, if it hasn't been developed by now, then obviously it's not worth developing, is how I think, especially
Yes.
with the markets now as opposed to they were, 10, 15 years ago. So I don't even know.
I would say
I'm just not a fan of shared driveways, if anybody could tell. Not a fan.
No.
no. It is also a way to allow our residents, especially like long-term residents, to be able to use this land that they've held for generations, to be able to have their family members stay in town, which without this clause, very likely we would not have any way to develop that land back there. And we, as a city, have always been pretty much very, if it can work within the parameters and it makes sense, we will work our hardest to make it
Sure.
work for our residents,
Makes sense. Thank you.
of course.
I have another question. This is Andy. Is this only for developed, like you're going to develop a house on it? Say someone buys a plot of hunting land that's landlocked by a bunch of neighbors and you want access to it, right? But you're not going to necessarily put a house on it.
So in that case, you could just get an ingress, egress easement. It doesn't need to have all of these standards of, 16-foot wide driveway and a 66-foot easement and a roadway agreement. For just hunting land in the back, it doesn't have as high standards, and that can be negotiated with your neighbor about just giving an easement for, a little trail or a smaller driveway through. It only becomes relevant when you have a home on the end of it, because then you have to consider how did they get their mail, and how did the police get there, and where do the fire trucks come in? That's when it gets to this.
But like legally, that owner doesn't have to give you access, or are you allowed an easement onto your property?
They do not legally have to
Okay.
give you access to the landlocked parcel.
Okay.
Is there anything else that we'd like to discuss on this? Eleanor, is there anything else you would like from us on this?
Nope, I just thought it was important that we could go over some of the smaller ordinances as we go forward that are
I think that's a
becoming
good one.
relevant to,
Absolutely.
That's a good one to go over.
yes, and that one is talked about in the office and with residents quite commonly. This is a very common thing that comes up in conversations.
Okay, now let the fun begin.
Now we get the fun stuff.
I am a fan of
We
animals.
are going to, once again, work on the animal ordinance, but this time we're only going to work on the survey,
Yes.
animal ordinance survey that Eleanor has come up with. Did a wonderful job on it. Let me get to do that. So Eleanor, would you care to brief us on this?
Yes, so at the previous meeting that we discussed the upcoming animal ordinance, one of the number one takeaways that we as staff received is that you all wanted more public input, and at least starting the process to getting some public input this is a good, simple way to get some community conversation started about this project. So staff has prepared a short resident animal ordinance survey to gather community feedback. The current ordinance is generally flexible, and this survey is intended to first learn how familiar residents are with the current rules, gather opinions on keeping animals on smaller lots, how big should the areas be depending on what type of animals they have, identify community priorities and concerns such as noise or odor and fencing. What are people the most worried about? And then gauge the support for a simple staff level permit process similar to this zoning permit that we did for the fencing. The survey itself, I tried to use plain resident level understanding of ordinance without getting into the the deep specific details that we will discuss later in this process. This is intended to just get a broad understanding of where our community sits with this. First of all, does anyone have any initial comments while going through it? And then I can start going through it on a smaller level. No?
No.
Okay, so starting out, the first section is intended to gauge, information about the resident filling out the survey. So Columbus resident or just a property owner that does not reside here. The size of their lot, whether or not they're keeping animals, and what kind of animals are you keeping on your property if you are at all. I do not want, this is intended to be an anonymous survey because we don't want people to feel like we're trying to catch them. I don't want anyone to feel like I'm trying to catch them breaking a rule, and hoping that they'll be honest about whatever they have. And then the second part is, do you understand what the current rules are? Or even know what they are? And allowing for an additional comment space under that section as well to leave whatever comments about the current rules that they want. Then the next section is kind of the bigger one. The first question there is reasonable minimum lot size for keeping of each animal. Granted, our actual ordinance will probably be a little bit more complicated than just if you have 2 acres, you can keep chickens. Hopefully not too much more complicated, but we'll have something. But that'll give a good overview of what our community thinks is reasonable for certain types of animals. The general question of should residents with lots under 5 acres, we have a lot of lots under 5 acres in this community that are just grandfathered in or lot averaging, should be allowed to keep small animals or larger animals. And then moving on, should the city continue to allow large animals as it does now with the same similar ordinance structure that we currently have, or would you like it to be more restrictive or make it less restrictive? Moving on, it's what factors do you think matter the most when deciding how many animals a property should have? So size of the property, type of animal, the distance from neighbors, odor and noise potential, fencing and shelter quality, a broad question to see what are you guys worried about the most. Moving on. And then moving on whether or not residents believe that we should have any sort of permit system or if we want to keep allowing it as a permitted use. And then for common issues and enforcement, what issues should we focus on when possibly working into our nuisance codes as well? Of what are you most concerned about again. And then I also included a question where if you've had concerns with your neighbor's animals in the past, was it addressed successfully by the ordinances that we currently have? And then just further questions about whether or not they want more updates in the future from this particular ordinance update, and if they'd be interested in attending a community open house for this matter. Regarding that, is there any specific language on what I've given that you think should be adjusted in any way? Or questions that you wish were included, questions that you think are irrelevant that should be excluded?
I thought you did a good job.
I'm looking.
We're looking to find errors here,
Okay.
Eleanor.
Okay.
Yeah, I guess I would like to see something somehow that clarifies to the public that we're not, when it comes to asking about what animals they have, I would like something to be fairly specific that we're not looking
Almost
animals.
like a preface in the beginning of, this is not intended as an enforcement measure. We're not checking anybody.
I think that's a really good.
Yes.
This is, we're trying to gauge where our community is so we can best serve them.
Yes.
I agree.
Absolutely. And maybe using the word or a phrase in there, something like, future, just so they're not, because current stuff is going to be essentially grandfathered into it. So
Yes. Yes.
knocking on their door saying they got to get
Yeah.
rid of their stuff.
Yeah, I agree that it should be fairly clear that this is not intended to get anyone.
We don't want to rat anybody out or anything.
Yeah, I'm not trying to do that.
So that would be my one suggestion. Otherwise, I think everything else seemed fairly straightforward, easy to answer, easy to read.
Yeah.
Okay. Enforcement. Well, if we're okay with the way that this is currently laid out, I will be talking to our Assistant City Administrator, Aaron Berg, since he has been in charge of the social media and community outreach a lot recently, to put together a plan on how we want to release this, and possibly putting it on the newsletter and all of that information. I might... Yes, so I will keep you updated on when this is going out. It might be, in a minute, it might need a couple more tweaks, but I'm glad that you guys think that this is a good start.
Looks great.
Thank you, Eleanor.
Of course.
Well, I think that kind of wraps things up, except for the fact that we have, let's see here, Planning Commissioners report. Do any of my fellow planning commissioners have anything to report at this time?
I do not.
I have
Me
nothing.
neither. No. I do. Susan is leaving. This is her last day here today.
Yep.
You weren't here very long, but
I know.
when you were very helpful and
Yes.
insightful. And I'll look forward to seeing you in your new job.
Thank you.
On the other side of this wall.
Yes, absolutely. Yep.
Yes, second that.
Thank you all so much. It's been a pleasure, and unfortunately it was short, and sometimes life and the universe has other plans for you. So I'll still serve the residents, just in a much different role. So thank you all very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yes.
And Eleanor, do you have anything to report?
I was also going to say thank you so much, Susan. I do look forward to seeing you every day now.
Every day.
Just down the hall.
All right.
So that will be fantastic. Going forward, I also have an announcement that the other comprehensive plan amendment, which was to make the northwest quad of our freeway district mixed use to allow future residential properties, we did hear back from the Met Council, and that was approved. So that will be on the City Council agenda next week. The plat is still having some small concerns with Anoka County Surveying Department. The Anoka County, yes,
Yes.
property records. It's been a long day. But should be coming to a close fairly soon. This has been a really long project that started a couple years before I was hired on. So seeing it get this close to being completed is really exciting.
It's awesome.
Excellent. Anybody else? Okay.
Oh, one last time. This is Susan. I'll make a motion to adjourn.
This is Kim. I'll second the motion.
We will take a vote.
Kim, I.
Susan, aye.
Mike, aye.
Andy, aye.
Bob and I. And it is 6:32, and we're adjourned.